In 1957, a widow living in Salford could feed herself for an entire week on just 12 shillings. Not because she was starving, but because she understood something we seem to have forgotten today. Her meals were simple, quick, and surprisingly nourishing. In fact, most of them took less time to prepare than heating a modern ready meal. No complicated recipes, no expensive ingredients, just clever, practical food designed for one person. And the surprising part? Many of these meals were healthier than what we eat today. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, because what you're about to see might completely change the way you think about simple cooking. Now, let's travel back in time and count down 25 vintage British dinners that take 10 minutes or less to make and cost almost nothing. Number 1. Bread, butter, and a cup of tea. Sometimes the simplest meal is the best meal. A thick slice of good bread spread with real butter eaten slowly with a pot of tea. In the 1950s, bread and butter was not a snack. It was a legitimate supper for those whose needs were modest and whose wisdom was great. The butter provided fat and satisfaction. The bread provided carbohydrates and comfort. The tea provided ritual and warmth. Total cost perhaps 3 pence. Total preparation 3 minutes. Total value immeasurable. Number 2. Cheese on crackers with celery. This combination appeared in nutritional advice pamphlets throughout the 1960s as the perfect light supper for the elderly. 2 cream crackers, a wedge of cheddar, a stick of celery for crunch. The fiber from the celery, the protein from the cheese, the carbohydrate from the crackers. All achieved with no cooking. Cost mere pennies. Preparation 2 minutes. Nutritional balance better than most ready meals on supermarket shelves today. Number 3. Kippers. Those vacuum-packed kippers that arrived at fishmongers in the 1950s could be cooked in a jug of boiling water. Place a kipper in a jug, pour over boiling water, cover, and wait 5 minutes. Remove it, butter lightly, and eat with bread. Simple and quick, the method required very little effort, no smell filling the kitchen, no pan to scrub, and no effort beyond boiling a kettle. Kippers provided omega oils and protein, and the jug method kept things tidy and nourishing. For pensioners whose sense of smell had diminished, and who might not notice a kipper smoking on a grill, the jug method was safer too. Number 4. Cheese and tomato. Sliced tomato and sliced cheese arranged on a plate, some bread on the side, and perhaps a few pickled onions for interest. This was dinner in its most elemental form, requiring no cooking whatsoever, yet delivering genuine nutrition. The combination of protein from the cheese and vitamins from the tomato made it a meal doctors actually recommended. Number 5. Mushrooms on toast. Fresh mushrooms sliced and fried in butter for 5 minutes, piled on toast, seasoned with salt and pepper. In the 1950s, mushrooms were cheap and abundant, sold loose at markets for a few pence per quarter pound. The smell of mushrooms frying in butter was the smell of a proper meal being made, rich and earthy, and deeply appetizing. For pensioners with small appetites, a pile of buttery mushrooms on toast was enough without being too much. Number 6. Cold meat with pickle. Sliced ham or beef from the weekend joint, served cold with a dollop of Branston pickle and bread on the side. No cooking required. In households where Sunday's roast was planned to last all week, cold meat suppers were standard by Wednesday. The pickle provided the contrast, sharp and sweet against the savory meat. A plate assembled in 2 minutes, eaten slowly, enjoyed thoroughly. This was how the frugal generation stretched a single joint into 7 dinners. Number 7. Boiled egg and toast soldiers. 3 minutes for soft boiled, 4 for medium, 5 for hard. This was the timing every British cook knew by heart, and it made the boiled egg the most reliable quick dinner imaginable. Slice the top off with a sharp tap. Dip toast soldiers into the golden yolk and eat. Total cost in 1955, about 5 pence. Total preparation time, 7 minutes, including toasting. Nutritionally complete, emotionally comforting, and achievable even on the worst days. Number 8. Eggy bread. Beat an egg with a splash of milk. Dip bread slices into the mixture. Fry in butter until golden on both sides. The French called it pain perdu, but British grandmothers called it eggy bread and made it in 5 minutes flat. 1 egg, 2 slices of bread, and you had a dinner that felt like breakfast and tasted like comfort. Some ate it sweet with sugar and jam. Others preferred it savory with a sprinkle of salt and a shake of pepper. Either way, the cost was negligible, the preparation instantaneous, and the result deeply satisfying. Number 9. Soup and sandwich. Half a tin of soup heated quickly. One simple sandwich made with whatever was to hand. This combination appeared on tables across Britain as the perfect light supper for those who found large meals overwhelming. The soup provided warmth and liquid, the sandwich provided substance, and together they made a meal that felt complete without requiring much appetite. For elderly people whose hunger had diminished but whose need for nutrition had not, soup and sandwich was the answer. Number 10. Tomato and bread salad. Ripe tomatoes sliced thick, laid over torn chunks of bread, drizzled with a little oil and vinegar, and left to sit for 5 minutes while the bread absorbed the juices. This Italian-inspired dish appeared in British homes after the war, brought back by soldiers who had tasted something similar abroad. For pensioners, it was a revelation. Raw tomatoes, stale bread, a few drops of oil. Total cost perhaps 6 pence. Total preparation time 5 minutes. The bread softened into something almost creamy. The tomatoes released their sweet juice and suddenly you were eating something that tasted like sunshine. The meals above relied heavily on what was already in the cupboard, but the cleverest cooks knew that fresh vegetables bought cheap at the market could transform a simple meal into something that actually felt healthy. The next entries show how. Number 11. Toasted cheese. Simpler than rarebit. Faster than anything else. Slice cheese onto bread. Slide under the grill. Watch until bubbling. 3 minutes. That was dinner. In homes where energy was limited and standing difficult, the grill became the pensioner's best friend. No bending to the oven, no heavy pans to lift, just eye-level cooking that produced perfect results every time. Add a sliced tomato on top before grilling if you wanted to feel virtuous. The acid of the tomato cut through the fat of the cheese, and suddenly you had something that felt almost Mediterranean. Number 12. Macaroni cheese from a packet. Kraft macaroni cheese appeared in British shops in the late 1950s, and pensioners embraced it immediately. Boil the macaroni for 8 minutes, drain it, stir in the cheese powder with a splash of milk, and eat. The whole process took exactly 10 minutes, and the result was hot, creamy, and filling. A packet cost about 9 pence and served one person generously. For those living alone, the packet format meant no waste, no leftover cheese going moldy, no half-empty milk bottles curdling in the fridge. Everything used, nothing wasted. Number 13. Corned beef sandwich. That blue-labeled tin sat in every cupboard waiting for the evening when cooking felt impossible. Slice the corned beef thick, lay it between 2 slices of bread with a smear of mustard, and eat immediately. No heating required. In 1952, a tin of corned beef cost 1 shilling and contained 4 generous portions. For a pensioner eating alone, that tin represented 4 dinners, each assembled in less than 5 minutes. The salty, beefy taste paired perfectly with strong mustard, cutting through the richness and making each bite interesting. Number 14. Beans on toast. Heinz baked beans heated in a pan poured over buttered toast. This was not lazy cooking, this was efficient cooking. A tin cost 5 pence in 1958 and contained enough protein and fiber to count as a proper meal. The tomato sauce provided vitamins, the beans provided sustenance, and the toast provided satisfaction. Millions of Britons ate beans on toast for dinner without shame because it worked. Quick, cheap, nourishing, and warm. What more could you ask? Number 15. Scrambled egg on toast. Not the watery school dinner version. Proper scrambled eggs made in 3 minutes with a knob of butter stirred constantly over low heat until just set. The secret was removing the pan from the heat before the eggs looked done and letting residual warmth finish the cooking. Piled on buttered toast sprinkled with pepper. This was dinner for countless pensioners who had learned during the war that eggs were precious and deserved respect. 2 eggs cost 6 pence in 1955. The toast and butter cost pennies more. 10 minutes from start to sitting down and a meal that provided everything the body needed. Number 16. Potted meat on toast. That small jar of potted beef or ham spread cost about 6 pence and lasted 3 meals easily. Spread thick on toast, It delivered concentrated meaty flavor without any cooking at all. Shipham's paste, sold in those distinctive glass jars, was the store cupboard essential for anyone living alone. 1 jar, 1 loaf, 3 dinners sorted. The taste was intense, salty, and deeply savory. The kind of flavor that made a single slice of toast feel substantial. For those with small appetites, but a need for proper nutrition, potted meat provided protein in the most convenient form imaginable. Number 17. Fried egg and chips from the chippy. Not homemade chips. Chips from the chip shop collected on the way home with a fried egg cooked in seconds on a hot pan. The chippy did the hard work. The egg provided the protein and the whole meal came together in 3 minutes, once you were through the door. In 1960, a portion of chips cost about 4 pence. An egg cost 3 pence. For 7p total, you had a hot dinner that satisfied completely. Pensioners living near chip shops made this their Friday treat, the one day they did not cook, except for that single egg sliding into hot fat. There was the ritual of the chippy queue, the newspaper wrapping, and the steaming parcel carried home. This was not laziness. This was community, economy, and a perfectly balanced meal. Here is where things get interesting. The meals so far have been simple, almost primitive in their ease, but our grandmothers knew that quick did not have to mean boring. The next entries show how a little cleverness could transform basic ingredients into something that felt like proper cooking, all in under 10 minutes. Number 18. Bread and milk. This was the meal hospitals served elderly patients well into the 1970s because it was gentle, nourishing, and easy to eat for people with tired jaws or poor teeth. Tear the bread into chunks, place it in a bowl, pour over warm milk, add a spoonful of sugar, and eat with a spoon. The whole thing took less than 5 minutes and cost perhaps 4 pence. For pensioners living alone, bread and milk became the evening meal when cooking felt like too much effort. The warmth of the milk, the softness of the bread, the gentle sweetness. It was comfort in a bowl. Some added a sprinkle of nutmeg. Others stirred in a spoonful of honey. The variations were endless, but the principle remained. Simple ingredients, no cooking, maximum comfort. Number 19. Pilchards on toast. Larger than sardines, cheaper by weight, and just as quick. A tin of pilchards in tomato sauce cost 6 pence in 1958 and fed one person generously. Fork them onto hot toast, mash lightly and eat immediately. The tomato sauce saved you the trouble of adding anything else. The fish bones softened in the canning process, providing calcium without any unpleasant crunch. Children might have turned up their noses, but adults who had lived through rationing knew the value of a tin of pilchards. District nurses called this the pensioner's friend because it required no cooking, no preparation beyond opening a tin, and delivered more nutrition than most hot meals. They kept for years in the cupboard, cost almost nothing, and could be transformed into dinner in the time it took the toast to brown. Number 20. Welsh rarebit for 1. Not cheese on toast, Welsh rarebit. The difference mattered. Your grandmother would mix grated cheddar with a splash of milk, a dab of mustard, and a shake of Worcester sauce in a small pan, stirring until melted and smooth. She would pour this golden sauce over toast and slide it under the grill until bubbling and brown at the edges. The whole process took 7 minutes, and the result was worlds apart from a sad slice of cheese melting unevenly in a toaster. In 1955, rarebit appeared in every economical cookbook as the perfect quick supper for 1. The mustard aided digestion. The cheese provided protein. And the Worcestershire sauce added that indefinable depth that made the dish feel like a treat rather than a compromise. Eating alone did not mean eating badly. It meant eating cleverly. Number 21. Tin soup with bread and butter. Heinz tomato soup, heated in a pan with an extra splash of milk to stretch it further. 2 thick slices of bread spread with real butter for dipping. This was dinner for millions of Britons living alone in the 1960s, and for good reason. A tin cost about 7 pence, and the bread and butter cost a few pennies more. In under 10 minutes, you had something hot, filling, and familiar. The ritual mattered as much as the food. The sound of the soup bubbling, the steam rising, the first dip of bread into that bright orange warmth. Doctors at the time noted that elderly patients who maintained proper meal rituals, sitting at the table and eating slowly, tended to fare better than those who grazed standing up. Tinned soup with bread and butter was a proper meal, not a snack. It demanded a bowl, a plate, a moment of pause. That structure kept people anchored when living alone threatened to dissolve all routine. Number 22. Dripping toast with bovril. That jar of beef dripping, saved from Sunday's roast, could feed you all week if you knew how to use it. Spread it thick on hot toast. Then add a thin scrape of bovril for depth. The combination of rendered beef fat and concentrated meat extract created something rich, warming, and intensely satisfying. In 1952, a jar of bovril cost about 1 shilling and lasted weeks with careful use. The dripping was free, saved from cooking. Together they made a dinner that cost almost nothing, but delivered the savory satisfaction of a proper meal. For pensioners watching every penny, this was the answer to cold evenings when energy was low and the shops seemed too far. The toast could be made from bread going stale, revived by toasting. Nothing was wasted. The whole preparation took less than 5 minutes, and the taste stayed with you, warm and comforting, as the evening drew in. Number 23. Egg in a cup. Boil the kettle. Crack an egg into a teacup. Pour boiling water over it. Cover with a saucer and wait 4 minutes. The result was a gently kettle-poached egg, soft and silky, eaten straight from the cup with a spoon and soldiers of toast for dipping. In homes without proper poaching pans, this method appeared in every Women's Institute handbook from the 1930s onwards. It required no skill, no timing expertise, and produced perfect eggs every single time. An egg cost about 3 pence in 1955, making this one of the cheapest protein dinners possible. Elderly widows across Britain made egg in a cup their evening meal, sometimes with a sprinkle of salt and pepper, sometimes with a dash of Worcestershire sauce for warmth. The cup kept the egg warm longer than a plate would, and the washing up was nothing more than a quick rinse. Hospital matrons taught this method to patients being discharged to live alone. It was foolproof, nourishing, and kind to tired hands. Number 24. Cheese and onion on bread. Not a sandwich, not a toastie, just thick slices of mature cheddar laid over raw onion rings on a slab of crusty bread. In the 1950s, plowmen's lunches were not pub creations, but everyday dinners for people who worked hard and ate simply. A quarter of a pound of cheese cost about 8 pence, and an onion, perhaps a penny. The sharpness of the cheese against the raw bite of onion, softened by good bread, made a meal that satisfied without fuss. Older women especially favored this for its speed. No cooking, no heating, no standing over a stove when legs were tired. Just bread, cheese, onion, and perhaps a dab of pickle from the jar. Some added a sliced tomato when summer brought them cheap. The whole thing assembled in 3 minutes, eaten slowly with a cup of tea, and cleared away in moments. This was not deprivation. This was wisdom. Number 25. Sardines on toast. Emergency sardines on buttered toast. The small flat tin cost just 9 pence in 1958, and every pensioner kept one in the cupboard for emergencies. Open the tin, mash the sardines with a fork, spread them on hot buttered toast, and add a squeeze of lemon if you have one. That was dinner. The whole thing took less than 5 minutes, and the nutritional value put most modern meals to shame. Sardines delivered calcium from the soft bones, omega oils for the joints, and enough protein to keep you going until morning. District nurses in the 1960s recommended sardines on toast to elderly patients living alone because it required no real cooking, no complicated preparation, and almost no washing up, just a fork and a plate. The smell of sardines mashing into warm butter, the crunch of toast beneath, and the sharp hit of lemon. This was the taste of sensible self-sufficiency. Today, a tin costs barely 60 pence at Lidl. Yet, we reach for ready meals at 5 times the price. Your grandmother knew better. Here is my challenge to you. Try one of these this week. Just one. The egg in a cup, the sardines on toast, the bread and milk your grandmother might have made. Then come back and tell me which one surprised you. Tell me if eating simply felt like deprivation or liberation. Share which one you are going to try in the comments. I want to know if the jug-poached kippers get more love than the eggy bread. I want to hear if anyone else's grandmother made bread and milk on tired evenings, because these are not just recipes.